So today we'll take a look at a few ways of using voice stacking in Bitwig, and let's quickly go over the basic idea of voice stacking. I have here the polymer that I can play with my keyboard. Right, for now it's monophonic, so I can only play one note at a time, but of course we have polyphony available, so if I set this to, let's say, 5 voices of polyphony, now I can play up to 5 voices at the same time. Now, having polyphony means that we have for each voice its own oscillator, its own envelope, its own filter, and so on. But voice stacking builds on this idea and allows us to have copies of the whole synth with the additional control over parameters per voice. So if now I add another voice in the voice stacking section here, we have now 2 polyphonic polymers, each with 5 voices of polyphony. You can see here 10 voices all in all. Now if I play this, since both voices are exactly the same, we just get a louder synth. Right, without voice stacking. And now with. Right, it's just louder. But again, unlike polyphony, here we can change the parameters per voice and create variation. And this we can do with the voice stack spread, this modulator here on the left. For example, we can spread the tuning in octaves. Right, so now they are differently tuned. We can even detune them a bit. Pan them left and right. Right, and this is the main idea of voice stacking. We can stack devices on top of one another and have them different from one another. This works great also with the sampler, for example. I have here a piano sample. Now it's set already to textures and it's frozen, and I'm using the random modulator here to scan through the sample. Right, but now I can add voice stacking, let's say voice stacking of 3. And spread the position of these grains, let's say, and have 3 grains playing at the same time. Right, you can see this also here on the interface. Right, I can spread them from one another. Now we have 3 playheads. I have here a pad also with the same idea, right? It's also set to 3 voices, voice stacks. And I have different parameters here, spread like shape, mix, the pitch, the panning. Just for fun, I have here a kick and a hi-hat. Right, and that's the main idea of voice stacking, basically duplicating the device, letting you change each layer individually. But let's look at a few more examples. So voice stacking also works on modulators. I have here a pad with the organ device. It's already set to 5 voices, and I have 3 LFOs modulating 3 harmonics. Now all 3 are set to polyphony, or in the left here it's called per voice, which is important when dealing with voice stacking. And now I can add variation to the LFOs on each voice stack, for example with the phase and the frequency. Right, so again I will go with the voice stack spread the phase, and you can see this here on the LFO itself, right, and also the frequency. Right, and do this also to the other 2. also the frequency. I'm just spreading them a bit. So now each voice stack is getting its own LFO with its own phase and its own frequency. This works great also with other modulators. For example, I have here a bass. Right, it has two layers. On the polysynth layer, I have it set to 2 voices. Right, and I have here the steps modulator. You can see it has 2 playheads, one for each stack. Right, because I spread, as you can see it here, I spread the number of steps. Right, so one is shorter than the other. And I also have here the parsec, which I also have spread between the voices. In this case, the phase is spread. By the way, we can also audition or solo individual voices. Here next to the voice stacking, we have this solo menu, right? So I can solo just voice 1. Just voice 2. Right, concentrate on them, make the adjustments I want, and this is both of them together. Now we also have dedicated voice stacking modulators. So here I have a sequence. Right, and we have 2 modulators. The first one is the stack spread that gives us different ways of spreading the voices. Right, you can see there are all sorts of different modes here. For example, I can use the Fibonacci sequence to spread the wavetable. Right, here I have 5 voices set up. Right, so now each voice has a different position on the wavetable. We also have the voice control modulator that allows us to change parameters manually per voice. So for example, I can do this for the filter. The first voice is a sort of a square now, so I can close the filter a bit just for this voice. Right, or I can tune the other voices in octaves. One will go up, one will go down. Right, and like this change things per voice. I can add some modulation also per voice. I have here a modulator. Right, and again, per voice. This is controlling the filter. Now there are some devices that will also work with voice stacking. Here I have a chord. Right, I have the polymer set to 3 voices, and you can see I'm spreading a few things here just to add a bit more movement. And this is going through the filter plus that is set to 5 voices. Right, so the filter plus we can, or with the filter plus we can also use voice stacking. So now I can use here this modulator here, the stack modulator, to spread, for example, the filter movement. Right, so each voice gets different amount of filter movement and different rate also. So this works with the filter plus. It will also work with sweep that I have here with the bass. Right, so I have sweep, and again, I'm using one modulator to control or to spread the rate and the filter movement, and another one with the primes here to spread the second filter. Right, it's set to 3 voices. If I take the 3 voices down, there is no movement. And now with 3. Right, so we have voice stacking on the filter on sweep. I have here another example with the filter plus. Right here I have another polymer with 5 voices. You can see I have lots of LFOs doing all sorts of things here, also spread through the voices. And again the filter plus set to 5 voices, and I'm spreading the rate. Right, with the vowel filter, if I take the voice stacking here down, it's less full, there's less movement. And this will work also with monophonic devices, by the way. I have here a snare. Right, the snare is monophonic, but I have the filter plus here set with 6 voices, right? And I'm using here the steps modulator to control the filter, and you can see there are different playheads because I'm spreading the phase and the playback direction, and you can see this here. Right, so this will work also with monophonic devices as long as you set the filter plus or sweep to have voice stacking. Now, probably the most fun you can have with voice stacking is in the grid. Here I have a voice in the polygrid. I have it set to 3 voices. And the first thing I can do is control the mix of the voices with the voice stack mix module. I will use this with the phase 1 oscillator that I have here. Right, if I click this, I can change the levels, I can solo, I can mute, and I can also pan things. Right, and even modulate depending on one voice. Right, so we have more control over the mix of the different voices. We have another module, this is the voice stack toggle. This I will use with the second oscillator that I have here. Here we can disable and enable voices. So let's say I will disable voice 3. Then I will use another voice stack module going directly from the filter here. And here I will disable 1 and 2. So now I isolated voice 3 and I can process it, let's say with a delay, with the mod delay, right, on another channel. Right, so like this we can also isolate the voices. Of course this will work also in the effects grid. Let me solo this. I have here sort of an ARP. Right, and again I'm using the mod delay and a all pass delay. I have this effects grid without voice stacking. I'm gonna set this to 5 voices. Right, so now I have 5 copies of the mod delay and 5 copies of the all pass delay. Right, so I can start changing each voice. I have here the manual modulator here, so I can, not the manual, but the stack modulator set with the manual mode, so I can manually change each voice. I will map this to the delay time of both modules and then manually change this, so maybe have some a bit shorter, some a bit longer, right? So now we have 5 mod delays, 5 all pass delays with different delay times. And of course I can also pan things, right, with the voice stack mix. Right, of course, this is a simple setup, but you can go crazy with all sorts of effect chains and change the parameters per voice. And this will of course work in the note grid. Right, I have here 3 sequences, a pitch sequence, a gate sequence, and a timbre sequence. I have it set to 2 voices. Right, so I can start spreading things, for example, spread the phase of the pitch and gate sequence with the shift module here. Right now we have 2 playheads. I can also bend the timbre sequence here a bit. Right, so we have again 2 playheads, and change also the number of steps, or spread the number of steps. Right, so we have now a nice texture with multiple voices. Right, so voice stacking is really like polyphony but with more control. I hope this video gave you a few ideas to experiment with. Thank you for watching. Cheers.